All right, now we're going to talk about some brushes. I hope I'm speaking loud enough. Just comment if I'm not. All right, well, that one's exporting. So let me select my proper subtool. So let me first adjust, get my little pointer. So this direction, we have the subtool palette, and I want to make sure I'm on my head. So I can select this because we're going to cover a few brushes. So I'm just on the normal standard brush, and I can sculpt this in to show you. Okay. So the harder I press, all right, the more intense that the stroke is on my brush, or I can go really light with my stylus. Holding down Shift, I can smooth this out. And I'm going to go to a lower subdivision level so you can kind of see what's happening. Hold down Shift and I can smooth this out. It's like adding water to your clay sculpture. Pretty cool. So typically this brush pulls out the vertices. Now if I hold down Option on a Mac or Alt on a PC, I can carve into my mesh. So you can use a combination of carving, pulling out, and then pushing in, and you will do that all the time. And that's true for every single brush. Alt will just do the opposite. It will invert it. So let's hit brush. This is our brush palette, or I can press B as in Bravo on my keyboard to pull it up, and then I can filter through all these brushes. Most of these you'll never even touch. So if I wanted something that started with F, I can press F on my keyboard now, and it will filter everything out that does not start with F. All these brushes, which is super nice. So I'm going to go to my brushes and then find Claybuildup. I'll press C, find Claybuildup. Now this is the brush that I use most of the time, and it has an alpha. We're going to bump up the geometry here. So this alpha is just a square. So you can see, unlike the standard brush, which is kind of like really smooth, the Claybuildup has this square alpha to it. Now I can change the alpha here if I wanted this star, for example. All right, now it's using, I don't know why that went back down, using this star is kind of like my brush tip. So think of it like a marker. This is my brush tip now in this shape. But typically it's a square. So these are our alphas. We can change these. When you're sculpting, I typically just keep it whatever the default is. So Claybuildup uses this square, and I can just use that. It's really great for building up forms pretty quickly. I like it a lot. And I'm just kind of playing around. I'm not actually sculpting his head. Okay, that's Claybuildup. And then if you don't like how rough it looks, right, we can come in here and smooth this out by holding Shift. And notice how it's like getting to a point where it seems like it can't smooth anymore. So I can go to a lower subdivision level, and then that's really going to smooth that out. Go back up, do some smoothing. There's also a smooth, stronger brush. We're not going to cover that today. So that's Claybuildup. We also have drag rectangle. So we've been using freehand, which is typical. Drag rectangle, I left click and drag, and it takes that alpha and I can drag it on. All right. Pretty self-explanatory. I could spray, so it's taking that alpha and just spraying kind of randomly. And drag dot, I can take this square and position it where I want. So I'm taking that alpha and positioning it. For example, if I wanted this arrow, take that arrow and drag, put it right where I want it. But let's get that back to default. So Claybuildup I use a lot. Another good one is called Damn Standard. So I'll press D. Damn Standard is great for cutting into your mesh. All right, so I can make these really nice cuts into my mesh and smooth if I want to. Hold down Alt and it will bring it out. may or may not be what you want to do. These really clean cuts. That is damn standard. Clay is an interesting one. So it will bring out clay, but only like so far. So Claybuildup, you can bring out clay really quickly. But with Claybuildup, or I'm sorry, with clay, you can't really bring it out like that. But it's really nice if I wanted to fill in kind of this space down here. And not get too crazy. Come in and smooth if I wanted to. Clay brush. Age polish, that's a fun one. So with that, for this shape, I'm just going to get a larger brush size and watch what happens to his chin. Right, so I can kind of make these nice, flat kind of angles and cuts on my mesh. Now he kind of looks like a rock dude down there. Not like Mick Jagger, but like a golem or something. H polish, and let's do, obviously move. The move brush, I use move topological a lot. I can get really giant forms and make big changes. So maybe like, oh yeah, this ear. I just want this big giant ear. And I can do that really quickly. Maybe move the eyes down. Cool. And inflate, I'll use that every once in a while. Not very often. Let's give him a big bulbous nose. Cool, so you have dozens of brushes that you can play with. You can change the stroke, change the alpha. I wouldn't worry about texture currently.